Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for another exciting podcast interview episode. In this day and age, it's all mixed into a little bundle, and it's just Ramon Ray interviewing some pretty cool people here. So welcome to the Rundown with Ramon. Appreciate you being here today. I'm here with my new friend, Jillian Ryan, who's with Intuit Mailchimp. Many of you know the name Intuit. Many of you know the name Mailchimp, and now we get to say Intuit Mailchimp. So Jillian Ryan, glad you're here. You head content marketing. I think there's a few more words in there for Intuit Mailchimp, but just give us your full name and your full title one more time. And good to have you here. Thanks for being here, Jillian.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. So yes, as you mentioned, I'm Jillian Ryan, and I'm the Senior Manager of Content Marketing Strategy at Intuit Mailchimp, which sounds very fancy, but what I do is I lead our thought leadership practice. So I get to create content, create research on the issues and the topics that matter most to our audience of small business marketers, but mid-market marketers, to make sure that they have the insights and the tidbits that they need to achieve their business goals. And so I get to spend my time working on all of those insights and making sure that they get into the hands of the right folks. And this is a great conduit for that. So thank you again for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And congratulations to you again. You can say the proper name of what I'm talking about, but I know you'll have a few reports that come out quarterly or maybe whatever the cadence is in a minute. Tell me the proper stuff, but congratulations. I believe you and your team are behind it. I'm talking to the lady who's behind it, and they are really good. Their PDFs, I think, pretty meaty and cool graphics and the insight in them. So even before I ask you, can you just remind people what that thing is? I think it's called a MailChimp report or something, but tell us what that is and where we can find it.
So we've done a few of them.
Okay.
You actually did a really great breakdown of the science of loyalty, which we produce in partnership with Canvas 8. They're a really great insights firm based in the UK. And that dug all into the different neurobiological, which was fun for me. Don't usually get to do the science. Elements of human behavior that makes us tick, what makes us be loyal. And we really wanted to break that down for marketers so that it could help inform their strategies, how to really get into the psychology behind what makes someone buy, but then also buy again and stay loyal. So that's one that we're really proud of. And then in the last couple of months, we've released two other ones. One was called the Revenue Blueprint, which we produced in partnership with Ipsos, which was all about what the best of the best marketers are doing and how they're differentiating themselves from marketers that just aren't growing at that like rapid pace. And then we also did a report called How to Grow Your Brand in conjunction with Evidenza, which was designed to really feature expert advice on all different facets of brand growth. Everything from like your brand awareness and your positioning all the way down to performance marketing and utilizing AI. And we featured experts like Mark Ritson, Ty Heath. We had Peter Weinberg in it and Les Binet. So really big heavy hitters in the world of marketing so that they can come and share their expertise with our audience. And being at the helm of all of that work is, I mean, just so exciting for me. So I love to get to shepherd it along, but then talk about it. It makes my job really fun.
I love that. We can touch on any of those things today if you would like. I'm going to open up with a small introduction, and then we're going to see where we take it. So, Jillian, here's my world. And again, Ramon Ray saying this is not from Intuit Mailchimp, but my world. And I want you to talk to the small business audience. Is it school versus Facebook? Should we be on X? Should we not be on X? Do we do live video? Ooh, we got to go live every day. Ooh, wait a minute. Every small business must have a podcast. No. Everybody doesn't have the podcast. We have to do a short form video. That's what's coming. Oh, no, but TikTok is having longer video, which is stretching to like 4 million years. So I pointed for the small business owner. Can you help us understand what should we be looking at today? We're doing this interview, of course, in January 2025. So whether you're watching this in 2027 or 2030, can you just break it down for us from you're seeing, because you're like the Intuit Mailchimp researcher. I'll give you that name. You see all this. Can you start us off with saying, okay, everybody, here's maybe some things you may want to consider. And then I don't want to bias you, but it may be keep doing the same basic things, and or are there some cool new things we want to think about? I don't know, but is that helpful to set the stage just at a high level? What should we be thinking about? Jillian, the mic is yours.
I love it. I mean, I think you're spot on. The proliferation of all of these new channels or different ways to use a channel that has existed forever. I mean, it keeps us marketers, and I'm a marketer myself, right? It keeps us on our toes. But one of the things, actually talking about some of the research that we did, we wanted to dig in with this revenue blueprint to kind of understand where email sits in that mix. I think sometimes a little bit of a sad thing for us at Intuit Mailchimp, but email can be dismissed as like,
Yes.
it's just the channel that's been around forever. It's the workhorse. It'll do what it's going to do, but it gets a little neglected, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to dig into that. Where is email's relevance for marketers as they have all these other sexy, shiny channels? But I'm here to tell you, email is still sexy. In that survey that we did with Ipsos, we surveyed 2,000 plus mid-market marketers across the globe. So we had respondents from the US, from EMEA, from Australia, really looking for that global perspective. And we actually found that almost 2/3 of the marketers in the survey said that email is still the foundation of their marketing strategy. It is the channel that is performing best for them. And 87% of the most sophisticated marketers in that survey, the ones that are driving the most revenue, said that email is their primary channel for generating awareness. And for us at Mailchimp, I mean, that's great news. But I think what's also important, and what we talk about in detail in the report as well, is that while email still has an enduring relevance, while it is still a linchpin and a cornerstone of a marketer's strategy, we are not here to tell you that if you only use email, you're going to be successful. That is not true. It is just one of the many channels that is in the midst. It is permission based, which is great, insulated from a lot of the like changing algorithms on social networks, but it needs to be used in an orchestrated way with your other channels. So you need to be thinking about your mix on a whole. What are you doing on organic social? What network should you be playing in? When I think about, I actually am a former social media manager from way back in the day.
Way back in the day, like 1920s, we're talking about 1910.
Totally.
I mean,
yeah, before that, but when we didn't even have Facebook.
Got it.
But during that time, one of the things that I always thought about is it's not, you shouldn't get caught in the shiny object of, okay, I have to be on TikTok. What marketers need to be thinking about is, who's my target audience? Where is my target audience spending time? If you're going after a younger demographic, for example, then TikTok is a channel that might make a ton of sense, obviously pending a lot of legal legislation that's pending right now.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense for you. But if you're not going after that cohort, probably doesn't make sense to look at TikTok. And so when you think about all of the channels in your mix, really think about where your audience is. And then you need to use your organic social, your paid, your earned media, all of those things in conjunction. But where you're doing that to build brand awareness, right? But where are you driving people back to? And I think that's where you're owned and operated. Your website using a value add opt-in form, driving people to come into your world, build that relationship with them. And that's where email becomes so central. You have a group of people who have literally said hi, they've raised their hands, right? And they're saying, I want to hear from you and your business. And then that's where email becomes super, super critical to be able to continue to engage over time. And then that's where you mentioned too, the new and innovative stuff. Is a lot of innovation happening in email marketing when it comes to automation, when it comes to personalization and using your customer data to segment and refine who you're speaking to and when. And that's where email becomes really, really, really special.
Yeah, no, I love that. And again, as you may know, my book is 2019, The Celebrity CEO, all about personal branding and more. And that's one of the 8 bedrocks of their email marketing. People ask me, Ramon, like, it's like a secret, like they go look back and forth. What's the secret? What's new? How are you doing all this great stuff? And I look back, email marketing. There's more. But I think people, they get caught up in it, with all the speeds and feeds and short form, this, that, and the other. So I like how you said it. You're not saying no to that for sure. And we can touch into that and all those things. But email marketing, even myself, one hack I do, I'm sharing my hack with Jillian Ryan with Mailchimp, ironically. But I say, I'm a real human. And again, I'm not a big company like, Intuit Mailchimp. You guys probably email to millions. But for me, I say I'm a real human to email back. Guess what? People do. They email back and say, hi, like they're testing it. I reply back, hi. So that's just a small thing. Email. Yes, email still works. So that's one thing I'm hearing, is that the future and what's going forward, what we may want to consider, Jillian, is the same-ish, meaning there's all kind of things, new things we can learn, but email marketing and the core basics of marketing, from what I'm hearing, that's what I'm taking,
Yeah.
is the same-ish, and we should keep doing it better and better and get to know our customers. Is that a fair iteration of what I'm hearing?
I think you're spot on. And I think the other piece of that adds on to it is I think email is also not like a set it and forget it
Right.
channel. Like, yes, it is. I used the word workhorse before. It is a workhorse. It will
Mhm.
perform for you.
Absolutely.
But you need to pay attention to it and make sure
Yes.
you're optimizing it. And there are a variety of different ways to do that. Paying attention to your at the broadest level to start your email performance
Mm.
metrics. Right. So that's your open, your click, your click to open rates,
Hmm.
really looking at those as a marketer to understand how are they doing? Are there certain types of campaigns that perform better than others? When I send personalized email or when I have an automated journey that starts with like a shopping cart abandonment or starts after like an order confirmation, do those perform better from an open and click rate compared to when I just blast it to my audience and like spoiler alert, don't just blast it to your audience. Like we see the data that those don't perform as well, but really paying attention to those open rates and then benchmarking it to other companies in your industry. We actually have that on our website. We publish our email performance rates by sector, so you could go and look at what industry you're in and compare how your emails perform to like the aggregate average, and then that will help you see, well, what do I need to test? Should I be A/B
Mm.
testing my subject lines, right? Should I be thinking about the different types of segments or where in the journey I want to be sending emails to? Is it post purchase? Is it to try to drive a conversion? And really looking at those metrics. That's what unlocks email as a channel. Because if you're just going to send emails and blast them, you'll see a return. For marketers that are doing that, it's not bad, but there are ways to advance your practice of email. And that's something that we try to evangelize here at
Yeah.
Intuit Mailchimp.
Well, I'm going to just put my foot in my mouth. Jillian Ryan's going to tell Ramon right now and embarrass me in front of a million people. I'm going to tell you my email open rate, and you can just laugh and go, huh, that's all? Or you can go, wow, that's pretty good. Whatever you like. I won't be embarrassed. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's between 30 and 40% open rate average. Is that like good, or like, Ramon, please, our small businesses get 80% open rate. What's 30 to 40% open rate? Is that?
That's pretty like that's the average.
Okay,
I
not
don't have
bad.
it open in front of me, so we're gonna do like a
I know,
pop,
it's okay.
but I am pretty sure that like our average open
Yeah.
rate across the platform is like around 35%.
Okay, not bad.
It's fairly good, and that's kind of aggregate again of
Mm-hmm.
like
I understand.
all industries. So that's how you can like, so think of 35% again ish, we're rounding
Yeah.
because I don't have it
Yeah.
open, but if you're seeing your open rates and they're 15%, 20%, then you know,
Do some work.
okay, something isn't working here. I need to, bring in the doctor and
Yeah.
kind of audit what I'm doing. Or if you're like, oh wow, it is 40%, it's
Yeah.
45%, then look at the campaigns that are getting that above average and like, what was it about those email campaigns? Was it who I sent it to? Was it the subject line? Was it the time of day? Like there's
Mm.
so many different variables within email, but then really dig into why you're seeing that increased open rate and then try to take that learning and look at the ones that aren't performing so great, right?
Yes.
And then and give them some love so that you can get it up higher to kind of be around that 35%.
I love that. Jillian, again, thank you so much for being here. Jillian, another question for you. What else can we look towards? You talked about email marketing, which is very important. Anything at a high level? Again, I know one thing that Mailchimp talks about is segmentation. I don't know if that's a fair thing to talk about, but what else should we be thinking of as small business owners are in a constant struggle? I am, even though I've started 5 companies, sold 3 companies, authored 5 books. I, put my pants on like everybody else, whatever silly example people say, but I'm running a business as well. So what other things should we be looking forward to as we're thinking, how do we better market our businesses in 2025? What's next? What else should maybe we be thinking about?
I love this question. I think there's a lot that we think about in terms of like customer data.
Okay.
That really is foundational to unlocking segmentation or personalization. And something really interesting from that revenue blueprint
Mhm.
report again, when we looked at again those kind of like the best of the best marketers who in the survey we happen to call them revenue leaders compared to what we called baseline marketers, which means they're not doing bad,
I got
but
it.
they're okay. They're not seeing outsized growth. When we ask them questions about the data utilization, how they manage their data, how they analyze it, and then how they use those insights to inform their marketing, there were some really big discrepancies. And we think that there's an important gap there, especially for small businesses to close, to really be successful in how they go about their personalization and segmentation. So in the survey, 64% of the revenue leaders said that they were using customer data platforms to organize all their data and extract insights from it, whereas only 39% of the baseline marketers were doing the same. And what we inferred from the research is that that is why revenue leaders are revenue leaders. That is why they're growing their revenue by 16% or more year over year, is because they're adopting these advanced platforms like CDPs, and because they're doing more with AI. So when I think about segmentation, it's like we can talk about it, but I think before you even start personalizing and segmenting, take a moment to reflect on, how's my customer data management? Am I integrating my systems? So whether you're a Mailchimp customer using any ESP, right? Are you integrating that with your e-commerce store? Are you integrating that with your website? You want, as best as possible as a marketer, to get that 360-degree view of your customer. And it's hard to get a 360-degree view.
Yeah.
Even anything is better than just having, disparate systems with your different customer data living in silos. Bring as much of it together as you can, because that's what's going to be able to unlock segmentation and personalization. And when we look ahead, we're already here, we're in 2025, but when we think about what's most important for the mid-market and for SMBs, it's really, really taking stock of that data in order to drive the best results from not just their email marketing, from any of those channels we mentioned at the top, right? Like, it's kind of a non-negotiable in order to win, because that's how you create those hyper-personalized experiences.
Yeah. No, for sure important, for sure. I think one thing is very important as well, and one thing I'm curious about as well, one thing that slightly annoys me, Jillian, and let me know if we're talking about this as an example about that, is event marketing. It's a silly example. Let me know if I'm on their track. I already signed up to the event, and I get emails saying we can't wait to see you. I call that lazy marketing, but I get it for the small business owner that does it. That's kind of doing the best they can. But maybe and there's so many ways to take segmentation, but like, it seems like maybe the next level, graduating from kindergarten, yes, send email. That's what I'm hearing. Got it. Sending email. Next level, take the data. So my little example is, I already signed up to your event. Now start sending me emails that say, thanks for signing up, or thanks for coming. A little bit harder to do. Got to do a little bit extra work, but send the email to those saying, why didn't you sign up, to those who really didn't. Is that anyway what we're talking about, Jillian, or am I off track there?
No, you're absolutely not off. Like,
Okay.
to me, I think that's a segmentation challenge, but I think it's more so an automation challenge.
Yes.
What kind of rules are you building within your email service, right? So that way, that when a customer or a target audience member has taken a specific action, i.e., they signed up for the event, i.e., they bought something, i.e., they went to buy the sweater and left it in their cart and never checked.
Huge increase in revenue right there. Just that. I do that all the time. We forget. I'm getting ready to click, and my wife calls me, Ramon, forgot.
But then you know what? You were reminded because you got the shopping cart abandonment email. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. And it's important for marketers to, like, they have revenue goals, you have emails that you want to send, and those things are important for your business. But always put yourself in the consumer's shoes and have empathy for the consumer. The consumer is being inundated by messages from all different businesses.
Yes.
They're also in their personal life managing multiple platforms, managing different messages. So it's really a customer experience thing, right? It's looking at, what is the customer experience? What is the flow of communications? And if the customer has done X, how do we take them out of a flow? Sometimes it's just removing people from a nurture series once they've done something, and then sending the confirmation email and having it be that. Or maybe there's more to the journey. So we think about customer journey mapping here at Intuit Mailchimp, and it's really being incredibly intentional in what are the things that you want to share with your audience. What do you want them to do and learn? And then what do we not need to tell them, because that's a communication strategy too, right? Like taking
Yes.
someone out of a flow, and that can be
Yes.
scary to marketers. And especially if your leaders don't understand marketing metrics, they might see it as, well, you sent less emails.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like sending less email can actually be a good thing.
I've heard that many of these, would you call the top level marketers again? The
CMO.
What's
I thought you meant marketing leaders.
no, the
revenue leaders.
Revenue leaders, I bet also they do that segmentation. They say, hey, I've heard that from people like that, mutual friends in the industry, whatever that. No, we sent less and we got more engagement, whatever. So no, for sure. I think this aspect of segmenting and automating it. They click this, they did this. I think this can work. I'll give one example of this. Usually I don't call it brands on this, but I think it's an agnostic brand. United Airlines. I'm showing them off. I was on the plane, 30,000 feet, whatever the thing was. They gave me a thank you card. Automation, segmentation, take your pick what you want to call it. But I'm guessing, Jillian, this is that kind of thing. They didn't give everybody in the flight that card. I hope not. They knew Ramon Ray was on the flight. They gave me a thank you card. I'm sure they had automation. They had the app. I know it wasn't, they had 1,000 of them around the world they gave out. But it made me feel like, oh, wow, they know who I am. So is that kind of ish also where we're going? Just make people feel great.
I love where you're going. And what it makes me think about, there's two things here. It makes me think about trust, right? Because that cultivates trust with you too, right? And it makes you feel special. It makes you feel excited, makes you feel seen. But it also makes me think a little bit about like community. Like the brand is building community by leaving that on your seat. And I have a couple of like interesting stats about trust and community. One of them is that 80% of consumers say that they actually identify trustworthiness in a brand as a non-negotiable. So it's an attribute that they're looking for. They want to engage with brands that are building trust, that are seen as trustworthy. And then the community element, which I also think is part of the little note card. I'm going to accept that, by the way, on my next flight, whether or not it's with United or any other
brand. That was a 30-year thank you for flying card. Oh. And you look like you're about 17 or 18, Jillian. I'm over 50, so, I don't know if you'll get one for a few years.
I will take it. The filter is working. But yeah, so when it comes to community, we also have a stat that 40% of the consumer population is actively seeking out brands that provide that sense of community and belonging. And even more interesting is we talked a little bit about like generations before and their behaviors and where they spend time, but they also have different expectations of brands. And we dig into that in the Science of Loyalty report that we did, like what are the different like generational behaviors. But for 18 to 34-year-olds, 57% of consumers say that they have a strong preference for brands that are actively fostering community. And that's community like with the individual consumers, but then also community amongst all of their customers and their prospects and their audience.
Yeah, no, that is so powerful and important. Jillian, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about this 2-letter word. You probably haven't heard of it. You may not be familiar with it, but I'm going to touch on it. And by the way, I just want to know, do you have a hard stop at the half an hour mark, or do I got a little more time to?
Have me until 5 p.m.
Good, love it. So we probably don't go that long, but I always want to respect it. One more time, Jillian, can you give us your full title, company you work with? People could be listening halfway through and didn't get it the first time. I always love to do middle of the road, kind of who am I speaking to? One more time, give us your full name and tell us about yourself real quick again.
Happy to do it. So hello, everybody. If you're just joining or if you're hearing from me again, I will reintroduce myself. I'm Jillian Ryan and I'm with Intuit Mailchimp and I'm the Senior Manager of Content Marketing Strategy. I lead our thought leadership practice and get to think about different stats and insights that matter the most to SMBs, which is incredibly exciting.
Absolutely. And you guys do a very good job. I look forward to your stats coming through. I think it's on a regular cadence. So in your reports and all that, they're very good. Good. Love it.
Yet, though, but
I'm sure your people are going to tell my people that is coming out.
Oh, yeah. It'll be one of the first to know.
That was for you, Kiara. Talking about AI, again, I could ask you 1,000 different questions, 1,000 different ways. I'll just say I'm very biased. I love it. I use it in my marketing. I use it every day. Me and Claude have like a little thing together, ChatGPT, Perplexity, take your pick. It's embedded. I think it's actually embedded in also a lot of Intuit and Mailchimp. I'm a customer. I use QuickBooks and, hey, we pre-wrote something because there's an invoice outstanding, blah, blah, blah. So all the things, but I'll leave the open question, just thoughts, tips, guidance, insights, something we should fear, know, embrace it. Where are you seeing AI going for the smaller business owner? And even if you wish, how are y'all using it? So the floor is yours, however you want to tell us about AI and what's your
For
things.
me to talk about with that question. So
Okay.
I'll start with the data point because that
Okay.
is what I do, right? It's what, and
Mhm.
I always love to share the insights that we have. So from that revenue blueprint report, we found that 74% of all of the marketers that we surveyed, so none of the different breakdowns, have actually integrated artificial intelligence into their operations. And I'll be really candid, that number was higher than I thought that it would. But one of the really interesting things was that when we dug down into like the types of AI that's being integrated, we saw that revenue leaders are really distinguishing themselves from like the baseline marketers because they have a more sophisticated implementation of how they use AI in that they're using both generative, meaning they're using whether it's a chat GPT to generate copy, generate creative, but then they're also using analytical AI. So that's things like predictive segments or using it to understand customer data. And so it really becomes this like strategic assistant within their operations. And that's something that revenue leaders were doing way more than the other respondents within the survey. And one of the things I think for me, this is kind of a personal thing. Like I am a content marketer here too. And so I think ChatGPT can be seen or generative AI can be seen as a threat at first glance. This
Especially for
technology
marketers. Marketers,
that can
many are
do what
afraid of it. Yeah,
right? It can do what I do.
that's right.
But it's this assistant approach that I think is really important. And I think it also changes the landscape in terms of there's companies are going to be generating and publishing a lot more AI created content.
Yeah.
And that gives marketers that are very serious about their content program an opportunity to really stand out and be intentional to define their content marketing success. So I think that the best in class marketers are actually not going to create more content because of generative AI, but they're actually going to take a step back and focus more on authenticity, human insight. I mean, that's what we're doing with the program that I lead, really focus it. And I use AI all the time to help me brainstorm, right? Like it's part of my workflow. But at the end of the day, we have human intervention on top of that. We're focused on, and this is what I think the best in class marketers should be doing, crafting fewer high impact pieces and really focusing on how it resonates with the audience, but then using AI to kind of shepherd that along or scale it to do it faster, to personalize.
Yes.
And so it's really a quality over quality, quality over
I got
quantity
you.
thing. And I think what's also very exciting about that is it speaks to a lot of this, I think, challenges that all marketers run into, but especially small businesses run into. I think there's a lot of resource constraint. Do more, do it with less, do it better. And when you're creating less content, you're actually able to perform better without like just jamming out net new pieces all the time without any strategy. And that I think that intention is what's going to be most important for marketers in 2025, but also and also beyond as we have, more AI created content proliferating the space.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I must say, even, as I got to warm up to share the Intuit Mailchimp report with my own audience, Intuit Mailchimp lawyers, if y'all are listening, please give me grace of what I'm about to say. I don't know if they're listening, but Jillian, you got to just, we'll see. Now I'm just teasing here, but I took the document, ran it through Claude, give me a summary of it, shared it with the rundown with Ramon, linked back to you all, and then added my own spin. It was like my flavor, how I did it, and credited back. This came from Intuit Mailchimp. So that's just one small example of ways I think you always need to be credit. Don't plagiarize. Give credit to where credit's due. But there's ways I don't need to do the whole thing. It's already been done. Let me share my opinion, which is unique, how Ramon sees the world, which my audience loves, and then leverage your report and get the synthesis of it. So that's
the perfect
one example
though of what AI should be used for, because you're taking something that is differentiated and unique, that is human created, and using it to you're distilling it and then creating like derivative pieces so that for those in the audience that are like running a content strategy, you don't like do one and then be done, and then and use AI to be like, okay, here's this great report, or here's this great web page that I've written. It's human created. How can I build an email strategy around this? What are the 10 emails in the journey that I should build to promote this? Or how can I get 10 different derivative social posts over it? And that's where AI can really, really come in and help bring scale.
Yeah.
Because it's like creating less while also creating more. So it's a little bit of both, right? Which is, I think, exciting as we kind of encounter this world of AI, and we're just at the start,
Sure.
right? I feel
Sure.
like we don't even know what the potential of this technology is, which is exciting to be here and really be early adopters
Yeah.
in.
For sure. No, I love that. And Jillian, I'd love to get your input. A last question for me. I often say last question, so keep in mind I may have 7 more, but I think it's the last question. And then if I didn't ask you anything, feel free. If you want to bring up something, no problem. But one of the thought, let's touch on maybe personal branding. If you're prepared, able to touch on that, I'm sure you can. But that's one thing near and dear to my heart. You know, my book, Celebrity CEO, personal branding, the face, vision, image, a little different than an Intuit Mailchimp or Boeing or United or, bank. You know, it's just different. Bigger companies, it's that brand, Starbucks. But for us smaller businesses, I say that's one asset, who you are. That's how we can differentiate myself. There are a ton of motivational keynote speakers in the world, right? A ton of us, but there's only one Ramon. So any just thoughts on that, of that as we go? My mantra has been the personal branding, especially for the smaller business. Dive into that with all the content around. Nothing can beat, hey, I'm Jenny. Here's a cupcake I made today, and I'm going to put the icing on it live, whatever. So just thoughts, guidance on the power of personal branding going forward.
A lot to say here.
Okay.
So I think you're 100% spot on. And, we know that, I mean, this is who we serve. We serve small businesses, we serve medium businesses. But one of the benefits of being small is that you understand your brand better, and you also, your expertise. So if you're a small business owner, or even if you work for a small company, tell your story. Why did you found, like, why did you decide to create this business? What is it about the business that makes you passionate? Like, really do some inner, I want to say inner work. It makes it sound like therapy. I don't mean that.
We can put this music on a candle, do some inner work. I know what you mean.
Time and really, like, document it down. Like,
Yes.
What is it about me and my business and my expertise and what I've learned in my business that I can share with others, that I can share with consumers? And then you'll see very quickly, I think, that you have a unique point of view and that there's a niche for it. And even if it is a niche, it's okay.
That's right.
Going back to those channels, like, if you're in business, think about how you put that out on LinkedIn. Start posting once a week, or think about your email list, right? Like, again, we have all those opt-ins, permission-based channels. I think one of the biggest mistakes that marketers can use is actually only using email to send sales emails. That should not be all the email that you're sending, like promo codes, discounts. Like, it's part of it. Don't get me wrong. And we know it increases during the holiday season.
That's right.
Specifically, but that's where content, educational content, entertaining content about, is your brand volunteering in the community? Is your brand opening a new store? Like, what is your brand story? And creating content around that, and then using your email to intersperse that into those campaigns that are like buy, and making sure that you're not just oversaturating the folks on your list with and hitting them over the head, right? Like, buy now, because that is what's going to make people hit that unsubscribe button, because they're not getting any value. And an unsubscribe is bad because you lose someone from your list, but it also, I mean, it impacts your deliverability. We're getting a little techie and geeky.
Preach, go ahead.
But it really does. It impacts how you land in the inbox, your reputation score. But when you think about how you can take that unique brand story that you have to tell and use email as a channel to distribute that to your audience, I think that's really, really powerful and very important to make your brand, multidimensional, and make sure that it's differentiated and that you create like memorability within your audience's mind, right?
Memorability within your audience's mind. I love that. Jillian, say it again, Jillian.
It's a soundbite.
Yes, indeed it is. Jillian, anything I didn't ask, anything you wanted to touch on, and hopefully we'll have more conversations, but anything I didn't ask or you wanted to touch on before we, I won't say conclude, but we continue at a later time this amazing discussion.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I feel like you hit it all.
Great,
If there's
great.
any specific questions you have about the research, I'm happy to dive in more.
Sure.
Like, if you feel like you need that for your audience.
Yeah.
But I thought this was, we covered a lot of ground.
I did too.
Fun.
I did.
It's always fun.
No, I love it. But Jillian Ryan, thank you so much again. Jillian Ryan with Intuit Mailchimp. Great to have you here on the Rundown with Ramon. I'm Ramon Ray, the celebrity CEO, and Jillian Ryan. Thanks for joining me. And I'm going to ask you, Jillian, you can say no if you want to, but will you join me again on the Rundown with Ramon?
I would be very happy to come and chat. When we have a new report, I'll come in and I'll walk you guys through all of the insights. Happy to do it.
Love it. I'll get the inside scoop maybe before the New York Times or CNBC or Wall Street Journal does or something. Jillian Ryan, thank you so much. Thanks for joining me here on The Rundown with Ramon.